Okay, hello everyone. So I think we need to start. So before we start the discussion today, I want you to be careful about this one. So the page presentation is way online or in person. So I put this discussion on the My Uni, and you get to click this link to fill the forms. So in this form, you have to input your university ID, your name, and you have to select online session or in-person session you want to attend for your project presentation. This is very important because last year we only have 30 to 40 students, so we put all the students online. Because the numbers, it's okay to put everyone online in 2 hours. But this year we have around 70 students. So what we decided to do is to divide you into 2 or 3 groups, and it will be parallel group. So at the same time, one group will do the in-person session. So basically face-to-face. I believe most of you over here will choose to be the in-person presentation. But of course, if you don't want to attend the in-person one, you can also choose the online one. So there are not big differences between the online one or in-person one. So we have the same marking schemes. So we have the same time schedule. The only difference is you can stay here, you can stay online. Make sure you choose this one. If you don't choose, we will assume you attended the in-person session, but if you don't show up, you will get no marks for the presentation. Okay, so make sure you fill this form. Any questions about this one, in-person or online? Good, yeah. Great, so yeah, make sure you fill this one. And another thing I want to mention is about this one. So in our last lecture, some of you mentioned that whether I can upload some previous examples over here. I have uploaded 4 assignment examples from last year. I didn't upload the full project. I only uploaded the final report. You can have a look of that, and basically these 4 reports are quite good. They received nearly full marks for the final report, and their project quality are actually also very good. So that's about the assignment example. So that's the thing I want to mention. And today, as we mentioned last time, today's workshop is about assignment discussion and the page ideas. So basically today I have nothing to I have nothing to show. I don't have any contents to show. What I want to do is to ask you to talk about your ideas, talk about your project, and I can answer your questions. So yesterday's online session, which was very good. A lot of students asked me about the comments of their own project. They presented some very interesting ideas. So it's same for this session. So just to talk about your ideas, and I can give you feedback, and any of you can actually give you comments or feedback. So yeah, that's it. You want to be the first one? You want to be the first one? Great. So talk about your project and to share.
To everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm shy. Okay. Can I talk about it with you? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You want to use this one?
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
Do you want to use that HDMI to show everyone about your project, or you just want to?
Oh no, I don't have I have like lots of ideas that I want to ask if like you think it's like useful.
Okay. Yeah. So I think it's better to share everyone. Do you want to do it? Yeah. So we can discuss. So it's.
Okay, I want
we don't have HDMI. That's fine. So you can talk about it, and we can discuss. Yeah.
Okay. So COVID-19 fake news detection is a trending topic, and I want to develop something that will aid fake news detection systems. So
So
But I'm not sure how I can make this like novel because like a lot of like COVID-19 fake news detection systems have been implemented already. So
Yeah.
I don't really know how I can like make this into my own problem based on the current data set.
So what's your data set source? So which website or which source do you think you can get the data set?
I found a data set, but I don't know, I can't remember the source name.
Okay.
But I have it like favorited somewhere.
So what's the format of that data set? Can you explain?
Okay, so there's like fake news articles, and I think it's labeled as either fake or real news.
Okay.
So binary classification.
Okay, that's right. So basically, it's a kind of classification problem, like binary classification. So, well,
I'm just not sure how to make it novel.
yeah. So, did you do some background research? Like, is there any software or application that anyone developed for this kind of
COVID-19 fake
project?
news detection.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I found a data set of a website called Papers with Code, and it like has like a list of benchmark papers that have already implemented systems for that data set.
Okay.
So like I didn't thoroughly read through those papers, but like based on like just seeing all of the papers that have already implemented it, yeah, I think there's been some.
Okay, it looks like someone has done that before. Yeah. So, well, that's okay. So this is just a kind of course project. It's not your like final year project or master research project. So it's kind of course project. So when I say novelty, yeah, really I want a kind of new application. But if it's not a kind of like you are not making a new like a Google website or something, right? It's fine. So it's fine that someone has done that before. But I believe this kind of research is kind of new, right? So according to your background research, it looks like there's only one paper is doing that, right? So for me, I didn't see any applications about this one. So I think it should be an interesting one. But I guess if you want some novelty, maybe you can work on like. Try to introduce some new method or maybe not only do the classification, like not only do this is real news or fake news, maybe do some recommendation to the right website you're looking for the right information, right? Yeah, so that will give you some minor novelty based on the previous research. Right?
Also like recommendations.
Yeah.
To
So
like, direct you to true news websites rather
that's
than
right.
fake news,
So they only do, for example, they only do the classification, but they haven't done like the recommendation system, so you can add it on.
I think part of the data set they also include like social media posts. People like writing about stuff on social media, and
Yeah.
whether or not it's real or fake.
Yep. That's good. Any other ideas?
I was also thinking of like, I don't know, maybe as like a subtask. This probably isn't a very good idea, but as a subtask for the main COVID-19 fake news detection task, I was thinking of doing sort of like sentiment analysis
Sentiment analysis. Yeah.
a COVID-19 text as either like positive, negative, or neutral, and I feel like the neutral ones would be more objective and more factual compared to like positive and negative sentiment related to. I don't know if that's like.
Yeah. Okay. So sentiment analysis is a kind of very traditional NLP applications, right? So normally people do sentiment analysis based on the product reviews or movie reviews. There are already a lot of data sets about the sentiment analysis of the paragraphs or the reviews. So there are also many Kaggle challenges about the sentiment analysis. The good thing if you want to do the sentiment analysis is that you can find a lot of existing methods to do that. It will be easier for you. But the hard part is how can you make it novel, right? So at the application level. So what I can say is the novelty comes from you want to analyze the sentiment about the COVID-19 information or news or feedback. So I'm thinking whether you can connect this one with some mental health checking. So you check someone's Twitter if this person never posts a lot of negative message about the quarantine, about his mental health. So maybe you can. This is also a kind of sentiment analysis, right? You can see well this person may have the low level of mental health and they need to go to some check or something, just something similar like that one. So that would be very different from the movie sentiment analysis or product review analysis. That will be that will be some novelty.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that like another novel idea, but also the recommendation system have a website that directs someone to the correct source?
What kind of source? So it's also about COVID-19 or?
Oh, and back to the first idea. How you
Okay.
said that like I could introduce a recommendation system.
Yeah, you
to,
can
like,
combine this one with the first one actually. The first idea. So first one is about just finding a classification real or fake, but you can add a recommendation system. So to refer them to the right website, right source to pick out the right figures or right numbers or right information about the news.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So in order to like make a existing problem novel, can we just like suggest that like there's like a lot of just say a lot of systems have already been implemented for COVID-19 fake news detection. So in order to make a novel, do you have to like build something on top of that? Like, why are you doing this classification, and then like just have your results build onto something else that you want to consider not a novel?
Yeah, definitely. So incremental thing, when we see the gap, incremental is also kind of a novelty, right? So you cannot develop a totally new application, right? So it might be hard for a cost project.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
No worries.
Thank you.
Anyone want to share your project?
Yeah, can I go next?
Yeah, sure.
So I have 3 ideas, and I just want to know about the novelty and whether you think it's going to work.
Yeah.
So the first one is, NPM, package registry.
And
Okay, so it's where you can install JavaScript packages.
Okay, yeah.
And I was thinking of building a recommender system for that.
Okay.
So right now you go into an NPM package, for instance React. You've probably heard of React. From there you kind of want to see what the alternatives are. So it helped developers kind of get a feeling for what the alternatives are and kind of see what make trade-offs and make decisions around that. Do you think that's going to work?
Yes, so I think I have the same question as also is where can you get the data set? So whether you have enough data set to train this model, to train your machine learning system. So
I was thinking of either mining web crawling or there's also the NPM API as well. They have an API.
Okay, do they have the labeled data? Because in this case, I think you are doing some, so it's a kind of recommendation system, very similar to recommendation system. So it's a kind of classification problem, right? So you can also treat it as a regression.
It could be clustering. Do you think it could be a clustering problem as well?
Clustering problem. So
like I could cluster based on.
Yeah, so it depends on your data.
keywords.
So when we do the clustering, normally you can obviously say that your data have different clusters, right? I'm not sure your data, format or so. One thing is that you can consider is to project your data into some features, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what kind of feature you want to use to encode your data. For example, for the image, we can use CNN definitely to encode the image into some features and project into some high dimensional space. Then we can use some clustering algorithm like K-means to cluster it into different groups. So it's called also wide learning, right? So in your case, if you want to do the clustering, so definitely you don't need to label the data. You only need to crawl in, online data. But the problem, how do you want to encode them? So because what you get from online is just some text, right? So my question is, how can you encode those texts into some features? And those features must be, useful and good enough to be divided into different groups. So I think if you can think about that one. So my suggestion is, so what's the data format? It's just a pure text, or
so it's
structured data. So.
Yes, I mean if I go up to a NPM page, I get some stuff about I get the documentations, the GitHub repository.
Documentation, yeah.
There's also dependencies. Maybe that could help. Maybe I don't know.
I see.
Yeah, it's pretty unstructured, but
so it's very hard to encode them into features. Actually, for example, if your data is a kind of just the normal text like news, right? So you can use some existing text to vector machine that to encode your text into some vectors, like use BERT. BERT is a kind of very useful word encoding, and you can also use a word to vector, which is kind of pre-trained word encoding model, right? So in this case, I'm not sure whether you can use the kind of model to encode that kind of, because the texts are very special, right? And not the general text we use in our daily life, so it must be a hard task to encode them into features.
Yeah.
Right? So in that case, unsupervised learning method may fail. Right?
Okay.
So if you have labeled data, it's okay. You can do your own encoding. You can just use one hot vector or any. If you studied the NLP before, you can use any NLP encoding method to encode your own feature vector. So yeah, check that.
Yeah. So how will I know if it's going to work? Like what am I looking for specifically?
Yeah, so I think you can try first try to get some data from online, right? So get some data, then you can download one thing called word to vector, WORD to vector. So this is very easy to use. Basically, it has a Python package, and the input is a word and output is a vector.
Right.
So you can input your text, the data you mine from the website to that word to vector. Then you get a vector for your data representation. Then you try to visualize those data. So basically, the data, I remember it has 500 dimensions, but you can still use some visualization tool to plot them into 3D space, for example, and to see whether you can distinguish them. So this is from website 1, it's from website 2. If you can distinguish them from the eye, so then that means the feature is good enough. Then you can continue your project.
Okay.
Yeah, that should be a good try.
Cool.
Okay.
I'll give everyone else a shot, and then I'll maybe come back if there's more time.
Yeah, sure. Anyone to share? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I was thinking nowadays a lot of people have cameras in their houses, and there are kids everywhere. So basically I was thinking on using open images, that set, to create a detector that can detect a knife or a sharp object. I was thinking on a knife and a kid approaching, basically. So it can say like, come on, do something.
Okay.
So I know there is a lot of market for that because a lot of over-preoccupied parents and everything.
That's right. So I think in this case, images might not be enough. So maybe you need videos, right? So
that's
videos. So I don't know any source of this kind of video. Do you have any data source for this kind of home recorded? Because your usual case is like must be home recorded videos, right? So I'm not sure where can we got this video, especially today the privacy is very important. So yeah.
So that's one of the problems I found, that a lot of people are trying to do it, but there is not like enough data. So that's why I was thinking on like the novelty approach of using like public data, these open images, because there are like images of kids and images of knives.
Okay.
So maybe then I can like try it with like movies, for example. There are movies where kids is throwing knives or something like that, and see if it works on this dummy data sort of, because of the privacy reasons. It's really difficult to. So I was thinking maybe like more like a testing sort of, like, okay, is this technology possible to do with these open images or not, because there is not a lot of data of kids like in real life like holding knives because
that's
of
right. So that might be a problem. So maybe you can try movies, but it will be a hard task to collect those data sets, right? So if you are using open images, so there are lots of image data sets, ImageNet, Coco data set, but so if you want, for example, the keys and the knives both appear in one image, that might be hard, right? So I'm thinking whether we can generate some images. So there are lots. So do you know? I'm not sure whether any of you know the Wally.
The what?
The Wally. So which is a project from the OpenAI. So they can automatically generate any images by using the text input. So maybe I can show you here. Darling, sorry, Darling. This one create images from text. This one is amazing. So, for example, illustration baby daikon radish tutu walking a dog. So this is images created by AI, by OpenAI trained model. Yeah, armchair in the shape of avocado. So you cannot figure out whether this is a fake image or real image, right? So it's actually automatically generated by machine. So all these images are actually fake images. So I'm thinking whether you can, you cannot use this one. This one is not free to use. But recently, you can search on Google. Recently, I just noticed that someone provide a free version of this one in another, which is actually much smaller than this one, but still you can generate high quality images by using text input. So maybe you can think about to generate some images if you need to check this one. So it can be a good data source if you want to generate the images. Actually, in the research area, because I'm a research person in the computer vision, so we have a lot of problem of the data source, right? So like, we want to do this research, but we don't have enough data set. So one way we currently are doing to try to use this kind of models to automatically generate training data. So it could be very useful for your case. Okay.
But like I could use it for like maybe validating, because I was thinking of like using object detection. Like I don't know if it's possible to have like, because I have like, I don't know, 1,000 images of knives in different positions and everything.
Yeah.
And 1,000 images of kids doing something else, So maybe if I train a model like a faster RCNN or something, and then try that with these images of like kids.
So you only use this one as a testing bed, right?
Yeah,
so
something like that.
Yeah, for the training example, you can use, you can basically just search online from Google. You can search knives, search kids. You can get a lot of free images to use to train your model, right? So
because
train a fast RCN or train I guess training a fast RCN might be hard for you. I'm not sure whether you have a good GPU or not.
Google Colab.
You can use Google. But there are already a lot of trained fast RCN. You can just fine tune it, and it will not. It doesn't require a good GPU, and actually you can also use Google Cloud or some service, buy some credits. It's not expensive to use to have just a normal GPU. It will be fine.
Okay. So do you think it's possible? Maybe like
Yeah, I think it's doable. It definitely can work. The results could be. I don't think it will be very hard because it has a big gap between your training and testing, and especially if you use this model to generate your testing image, it might not that real, right? So I don't think the accuracy will be very high, but I think it's doable and it was to try. Yeah, as a kind of project, it was to try to, if it works, then maybe later you can say, well, I can collect some data, I can. You can create some data, right? So you can ask people to record by those data and train your model. So avoid the privacy issues. So that's kind of product line. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
I was looking at predicting emotional status of a person based on their body vital signs.
Okay.
So I found that heart rate and temperature, body temperature, respiratory rate, they all affect, and they are predictors of how a person is going to feel in the next minute or
Body
so.
temperatures.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, for example, I found a paper that said people with variable blood pressure overall, they tend to produce a higher degree of variation in blood pressure when they are experiencing emotional distress.
Yeah.
So, so this is not something that can be predicted with a cutoff. It is subjective for each person. So I think ML is an application here.
Definitely. So previously, I think a lot of people from the computer vision side are using the body language or face recognition tools to recognize the emotion of the person. Basically, it's just kind of computer vision application. In your case, if you can access the data like body temperature and even the blood pressure, I think that will be a good case. So did you find those data source?
So no, I don't have the data source. But in the real world, if this is to be used, I think the training of the model will be through the data of that person. You cannot give a universal data set and train the model because it is for the person. So if you incorporate it in your smartwatch, then the smartwatch has to be worn by the person for a week or two to train it to then predict his state.
Yeah.
So in that case, can I use a mock data set to
Okay, so you want to create your own data set, but with those fake numbers, right? So it's like
Yes, I just say
yeah.
a higher systolic, a higher diastolic, and label it as
Yeah.
anger and not anger.
Yes, right. But I guess in that case, you have to make sure the data is, a kind of right. So you have to ask maybe if you have a doctor friend, you can ask whether this data is right. So for example, high blood pressure is around 145, then you say, well, there's a very high blood pressure, and this person must be angry or something, right? So I think you have to. Of course, you can have those kind of data made by yourself. It doesn't need to be the real world data because we want to focus on the machine learning part, right? So, but again, we want that data to be as accurate as possible. Otherwise, you cannot. Even you can train a model based on those data. When you do the testing, there must be some gap. So make sure your data is about right. So I think I'm not sure whether we can get this data from online. It's very hard, right? So it's kind of
I
personal
couldn't find it so
data.
far, but
Yeah, so I know there are lots of few image data set or video. So it's like recognize the body language or facial expression to predict the emotion. There are lots of video. There are already a lot of images about that. Well, I think you can search those at first to check whether they provide the information you want, like body temperature or something else. If they don't, well, maybe you can start to build your data set based on those image-based data set, then give you some amount of data set that you can use to train your model. Yeah.
okay.
But still, I think the whole problem is the data set could be very hard to obtain.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I thought I could just, make up one data set.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I don't think we can find a data set like that. It's personal health data set. It's very hard to find. Yeah, some companies may, for example, I believe Apple have all of our data sets, so they can use the system it's not about privacy. They can still use our data to train some model. So when you click yes, you actually agree to share your data to the company, and they can use those data to train a model to predict what you are doing, whether you are happy, whether you are sad now. So, personally, we don't have those kind of data sets. It's very hard to obtain. But I think that application should be a very good one. Yeah. Yeah, if you do if you just do your own data set, it's fine. Yeah, for this project, I think it's totally fine.
Okay, thanks.
You want to go first?
No, that's all right. You go ahead.
So I was thinking because of COVID, most of our activities had to go to remote mode, across the globe. And in various sectors, there is a department, ITSM, IT Service Management, in every sector, which like the ticketing tool, which looks after all the processes of the IT devices and everything. So I was wondering, to study the impact of this going remote because of COVID. Was there any effect on this ticketing? Where the number of tickets raised, or what was the impact of this going to the remote ways on these IT service management systems?
Okay, so again, the data source is very important. So
Yeah, so
when we
I-
say, when we start a new company or when we start a new application, especially when we want to use AI or machine learning, the first thing we ask is whether we have suitable data. The method is not the most important thing because currently everyone can use deep learning. So the bottleneck, there's no bottleneck of the method because method is over there. The most important thing, the bottleneck is about data set. Whether you can find that data set. Your application, I believe, that's a very interesting one and it should be a novel one. But the problem is whether can you get those data sets.
So one resource which I was referring. So in that the existing study, what they are doing is like there is a service called Service Now, which gives a count of all the tickets which had been raised. So it's just the time period which needs to be checked, like after once all the lockdown and everything had started. And so in that project, what they do is they classify it into different labels.
Okay.
Whether that ticket is raised related to some application based or just the hardware based or something like that. So that data set is available.
Okay,
right
they are
now.
already public
Yeah,
available. That's
available.
good to know. Yeah.
So I think maybe it's just the date. I have to check if there are latest data set records available for that.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, so maybe you can. So is that data set from a paper or something? Or it's just
It's like open.
just open.
Yeah,
so
but
you
it's
can-
a study like forecasting. It's related to a prediction and classification. So there are two. One is looking at the forecasting the number of tickets, and the other is looking at to classify into different labels
Yeah.
those tickets.
Okay, yeah, try to check whether any research papers or conference papers use that data set before and what kind of method they are using, whether they did something similar. So check that, do some background research, and you will see whether this is a novel or not novel.
So, but I can like if I have to work on it, so probably that should find if I get a suitable data source. So will this project work like
Yeah.
for the IT service?
So I think the idea is definitely a good one, but I want you to check what kind of method people are using to solve this kind of similar problem, because as you mentioned, this is also a public available data set. That I'm not sure when this data set has been published, but it should be very close because of COVID-19 issues, so it should be very close. So I don't think there are lots of applications around that data set, so that. But still do some background research to check what kind of applications or what kind of research people has done, for that data set. Then you can more confident about the novelty and the data set and the method you are using. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Want to share? Yeah. Sure.
I don't know how complex I might have chosen this project for my degree, but I was thinking on the lines of maybe having an application that supports training based on your speech data and then processes it
Sorry, what?
using your speech
Space.
speech recognition and then adding functionality to just control your home automation systems like Alexa or maybe Google.
Okay.
So primary idea is I'm not too sure. I just want to like feedback or a review about that.
Yeah, so it's so basically you just need a speech recognition model to recognize your talking speech and to do some application, right? So I think for this one it's a kind of I can't say it's novel, right? Because it's already over there. So speech recognition currently is recognized as a kind of solved problem because it's not hard. It's like image recognition, face recognition. It has been recognized as a kind of solved problem. It's not a hard one, right? So I cannot. Well, according to the method level, I don't think it's challenging, right? It's not a novel one. And according to the application to recognize the speech to operate the system, so it's not that novel, right? You can use the speech recognition to control your watch, control your laptop, control the TV. So it has been done. So I'm thinking what kind of things can you add based on that one to make your project more novel. So Do you have an idea? I have no idea how to make it much more known because speech recognition is already a kind of very mutual application. So yeah, do you have any idea to make it sounds more novel? If you do it like a new application.
I mean, speech recognition would essentially be recognizing what you're saying and then turns it into words. And then using that data that has been converted into words from human language, and then making some system do something. That is what my idea was. But those activities or those functionalities that would be added, that would be obviously limited, and that would be customized. So I was thinking maybe if I could have a feature in which people actually can train their own data and then it gets integrated with their, like just the app integrates with API for that, and then they can like have the app do specific things, maybe on their phone, maybe set an alarm or like just for example, maybe just a custom reminder of something.
I know. Yeah. So it sounds like another version of Siri, right? So in Siri, you can just ask Siri to call someone, and or you can ask Siri to make an appointment with something, or set a reminder.
I was thinking more like for Windows. So for example, in Windows they have Cortana, but it's no good. So maybe if you say open Google Chrome, it opens Google Chrome. Search for this on Google, it searches for that and then displays the results, and then just say switch to this application, so it switches to that application. So something like that. I think that's not been done, but again, if it's not novel enough, maybe I need to think.
Yeah, so I think one thing you can add is to think about what kind. So currently, I'm not sure what kind of action that Windows can do now, right?
Nothing.
So at least Apple Watch is. I think it's quite good. So search something, search the music, what you want to listen, and ask about the time, ask about the weather. It can actually give you the right answer. But you want him to do something like some complex operations, like for example, if say, can you if you want to ask your iPhone, like open one application and type some message and send it to someone, it will be hard.
To process all of those.
Process all the so basically it only can process one step. Like open open something. Right? If you see a long sequence of action or instructions, it cannot be operated by the system, right? That might be something that you can do. But it's a hard one. So I think if you want to do that one, there should be some similar data set you can use. So there's one area called vision language navigation. So in that area, you what we assume is that you have a robot at your home, and you can give a command or give instruction to the human to the robot, and say, go to the kitchen, open the fridge, and give me pick ice cream for me. So you can give a sequence of instruction to that robot, and robot need to to do those actions. Move to the kitchen, find the fridge, open the door, and get ice cream, and maybe also get a spoon for you. So you can do. It provides a good simulator, a good data set, and there are already a lot of models. Maybe you can try that one at first. It's not about speech recognition. The language is just a written language. It's not a speech, because speech recognition is not the hardest part, right? You can use
processing words.
Processing those commands. It's like a reasoning part is the hardest part in this kind of application. The speech recognition, image recognition, they're not hard. They're already to solve the problem. So try to focus on the most important part of the project, which is about the reasoning part.
So how far do you think would it be? How complex? Like, would it be well to choose that kind of project in this scope, the scope of this subject?
If you if you do the vision language navigation task, it should be okay because they are already simulators, datasets, and methods, and you can think about whether you can make it more accurate or something. So so this should be doable, feasible for this course project. But if you want to do the project you just mentioned, like speech recognition and operate some applications, that will be hard because in that case you need to build your own simulator, you need to build your own dataset, collect your own datasets, and implement the method. That will be a huge project. Okay, so your problem is definitely interesting, but you need to try to figure out what kind of dataset or simulators you want to use to make it simple.
And how far? Sorry, I'm taking too much time, I guess. How far research component should be involved in the project when we are considering? Do we need to have like an intensive research, or can we directly start implementing and have a report based on our implementation or approach to our problem?
Yeah, as I mentioned in our first lecture, in this course we don't want you to focus on implementing or invent a new algorithm, right? So we want to focus on your application and choose the right tools, right algorithm for your application. So basically that means you only need to select the right, for example, if your problem is a classification problem, you need to use SVM. You know that you have to use SVM, then you can find out where can you download the SVM model, right? If your problem is kind of reinforcement learning, like playing games, in your case it could be a kind of reinforcement learning problem, then you know where you can find the tools to implement the IR algorithm. So you don't need to implement your own algorithm or write your own code to do that. You just need to find out the right tools, right code to do your application. So we want to focus on the application level, not the coding level or algorithm level. That's other courses, right?
Thank you.
No problem. Yes. Yeah, we still have 10 minutes. Yeah.
One question. So does that mean we have to? So you said we have to complete an application.
Mm-hmm.
So does that mean we have to do all the thing for the interface on all this stuff?
No, you don't need to do the interface.
It's based on the notebook.
No, it's basically just a normal machine learning project. So dataset, algorithm, experiments. So when I say experiments, you have to have the training data. If you learned the machine learning tools before, you must know when we do some machine learning things, you have training data, validation data, and the testing data. You just do the experiments. You don't need to implement that application. You don't need to write an interface or something.
We need to use the right data with the right model.
That's right. You just need to say, well, this will be my application, and for this application, I need to train a machine learning model to do that. But to train that machine learning model, I first need this kind of training data, right? So then you tell me how did you find those data? How did you process those data? And what kind of algorithm you used to train your model, right? And what's the results?
But when I attended yesterday's lecture, you also said we have to make this application more local than the current existing one.
Yeah.
So if I want to do an language analyze based on the IMDb review to teach the machine to recognize the positive or negative reviews for that one. So what should I do? So I can do the language analyze to train based on the IMDb.
Yeah.
But what more should I do to fit?
So if your case is just about downloading the reviews from the IMDb and use some NLP tools to analyze those data and try to predict whether there's a positive or negative, that's your whole project. Then in your project, that's a kind of application, right? So, but for that application, you don't need to really write a software or interface to like an app to do that application. So we only want you to download the dataset and divide your dataset into training, validation, and testing part. And you can use some existing algorithm in your case to process those NLP data, maybe you have to use the recurrent neural networks to process those data into some features. And you also need to use, for example, supported vector machine or some other deep learning models to train a model to predict whether there's a positive review or negative review. So this whole process is about the application. That's a meaning of the application. We're not saying the app or something.
Okay, so did that fit the goal of this course? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. Because yesterday what you said, I thought we have to do like implement some or improve some algorithm that currently exist to do like more.
Well, it depends if you want to. If you have the ability to like improve the algorithm or something, that's better. Yeah, that's definitely better. Yeah, but that's not the focus of this course. But if you can improve the results, that's definitely better, right? Yeah.
How far are projects that we implement? So you said we just need to have that data set, what model we use, try to come up with a training, like train it a little bit and see how it's functioning, and then propose what are the solutions, why you did it, how you did it.
Yeah.
Right. So is somewhere, are you trying to say somewhere that it doesn't really matter if the project, like how good the project works, or
Yeah. So we will not.
the presentation and the novelty of the idea.
That's right. So we will not evaluate your project based on your final accuracy. For example, in your case, so it's about the review positive or negative, right? So you finally find the accuracy maybe just 30%. It's fine. So it's okay. We will not evaluate your project based on the accuracy. We evaluate how novel your project it is. But where did you find those data sources? Whether those data sources are novel or interesting enough, and whether you choose the right tool to solve that problem. For example, in your case, it's a prediction. It's a definitely binary prediction problem. If you tell me, well, I use a kind of regression model, I will not give you a good score because you choose the wrong tool to solve your problem, right? So the key thing is to find out the right tool to solve the right problem. But of course, you cannot guarantee you always get good results based on your choice, right? Of course, we're happy if you can get good results, but sometimes machine learning doesn't work like that, right? So if you have good data, then you have good results. And it's also based on your testing data, whether you have a gap between your training data and the testing data, right? If the gap is small, you always can get good results, right? If the gap is big, even your model is right, your data is big, is good, you cannot get the right, good accuracy. That's why we will not evaluate the accuracy. We will just evaluate whether your application, your problem is interesting one, is a novel one, right? And whether you choose the right tool to solve your proposed problem. And whether you use the right evaluation metric, whether you design the right experiments to test your idea, right? So that's it. And of course, we will evaluate your reports and lots of things, but we will not evaluate whether you implement your algorithm, in a right way, or whether your results accuracy is high enough. Okay. Yeah.
So you can use the algorithm that currently exists.
Yeah, definitely. That will be better actually. So we don't want you to focus on implementing some new algorithm. We definitely want to use the existing algorithms.
But can I just simply import them, or I have to develop them myself?
Sorry?
Can I just import them, or I have to implement them myself?
No, you don't need. If you can find a package. So that's how current machine learning industry works, right? So if you go to the machine learning industry in the next year or in the future, normally you don't need to implement your algorithm. So there are already a lot of implemented algorithms. So what your job is actually combine them together to solve the real problem. So that's the purpose of this course. Right? So if you are studying statistical machine learning or machine learning tools, your work is to implement an algorithm by using Python or any code you want to use. But the purpose of this course is not about coding, about implementation, not about algorithms, right? Okay. Okay, so we still have 5 minutes, and you want to talk about your project? Well, it's fine. If you're shy and you want to share, and if you can send me email, send me a message, talk about your project, and I will try my best to give you some feedback and comments about your project. Okay, so yeah, that's it. I think make sure you fill this form. So let us know what you want to do it in person or online. Otherwise, we cannot make the arrangement. We don't want to put all 70 students in one session. It's impossible to do it in 2 hours. Yeah.
Is the pitch during the lecture session?
Pitch.
The in-person one?
So yeah, this is just for the pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one is just for the pitch, and it will be. Let me check. This one, the 4th week. So it's the 17th August. So yeah, that's this one. That's, yep.
Sorry, I keep interrupting. Is it during the lecture session?
Yeah, it's during a lecture session. So it's basically, yeah, it's Tuesday 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. But as I mentioned, we will divide it into different groups. So in-person group, I will basically in charge of the in-person group. So it depends on how many persons choose the in-person one. Then we can decide. Each of you may have 3 minutes or 5 minutes. We will decide it. It depends on how many students in each session. So last year we have 5 minutes for each student. I'm not sure this year we need to check. So make sure you fill it as soon as possible so that we can know how many groups we can divide you into. And then later we will publish a schedule list like, well, you are the first person or the second person in this group, and what's your time with them from 1:30 to 1:35, as then you can come here to attend. And of course you can stay here to listen to other people's project, and you can also give your feedback to those students. Yeah. Okay.
So for presenting the pitch, we need to have an idea, a data set.
No, you don't need to have a data set. So let me show you this one. So here, presentation clarity, slides, idea, novelty, and significance, and clear planning. So data set should be belong to here, clear planning. So basically, when you talk about your project, you need to think about where can you get those data set, but you don't need to give me like, well, that's the data set I will use. You just say, well, there might be some source that I can go to find those data set. It's about planning. And we also have I think the next session, which is about the data set, data and the project goals. In this part, you need to download those data sets and do some visualization and do some some pre-processing and analysis about the data set. That's about the next session. Yeah. But for this one, the page idea. So basically, we will mark based on whether your idea is an interesting one, the novel one, and whether you have a clear planning, like where can I find those data source, and what kind of model I might use in the next step, and what kind of results I can get. Yeah. Okay, so it's basically kind of yeah. So that's it. I think we have to leave this. I think. Okay, so thank you everyone. Let's end up
About
this.
the one. So the presentation you said we can go online or face to face.
Yeah.
So about the online one, is that all people in one Zoom or we do it like
Yeah, all people in one room.
and okay.
Yeah.
So
So
when is that?
sorry.
When is that the online?
It's same as
online.
yeah, still in the lecture time.
Yes, and how long do we have for the presentation?
It depends. I haven't decided because we have to check how many students in each group. So currently, because it's on 4th week, some students may join us later. Some students may leave this course. So I don't know the exact number of the students in this course. So I will decide it later. So say so normally at least it will be 3 minutes, but maybe 5 or 8 minutes, but at least 3 minutes. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
your project, so you mentioned the speech recognition and use that to things. I think it's very similar to the theory, the application is very similar, so I can't say it's a very novel one, but as I mentioned, if you can make it harder or challenging, say, you can operate multiple steps of actions, that would be very novel, but again, that will be very hard for this project, right? So that's my suggestion. Okay, so the project itself is interesting if you can make it as a kind of multiple steps, but it will be a very hard one. So I'm not sure whether you can get the right data set, whether you can get the right model to do that, because normally for that one it will be complex AI system. It's not like a so simple machine learning classification or simulation. It will be very complex, including speech recognition, including reasoning. So reasoning is the hardest part. It's hardest part and the main part, of course. You have to use a reinforcement learning and lots of algorithms to improve learning. So that will be a big project. It might be suitable for a project or master career project, but as a course project, it might be hard. Yeah. So maybe you can check the vision language navigation I mentioned. That's a good start. You can try check that data set and direction first to think about whether you can have some interesting applications. Yeah. Yeah.
Surely my UC.
Yeah, not too bad.
Do you know like what you're gonna do for the
Yeah.
project?
I mean, I sort of got an idea, but I wanted to check to make sure like it's good.
Okay.
Challenges or
I was thinking doing like
applications,
stock
right?
prediction something, but
That's exactly what I was thinking. That's exactly what I was
but
thinking.
there's like too many projects like out there already, so I'm not like.
I mean, if you can make it unique,
Like it's like
improve.
how do I was like wondering like how do I make it unique?
Yeah. I mean, it's a good topic because I think it's like interesting, but
Yeah.
I get what you mean because I've been flicking through papers too, but
Okay, yeah,
there's a way to
yes,
make it
that
like
sounds
more
interesting.
unique or make it better than some of the other things going around.
Yeah, sure.
Those
I
charts.
think there's a- Don't worry about the
Oh my God.
So just
Or like look at like
uh,
maybe a
have
specific
data,
stock or like
choose the
something.
right method.
Just like popularity on Wall Street, but yeah.
Yeah, do that. Go on Reddit.
Any stocks?
Any stocks, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Or like something that's not like research much
Yeah.
upon, because it's, I know like there's a lot of
Do altcoins.
That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm checking.
Yeah, because everyone's always focusing on.
Yeah, so for
Yeah,
even the
no,
idea
okay.
itself is complex, that means you
Actually, no, I
cannot
don't think
use
it's
an
not
existing
I
method
think
to
it's
send
not
that,
traction.
right?
You have to go for like.
That
The
means
problem is you have to
they
go for
need
the shit coins, because the shit coins
to
is not
develop
like
more algorithm to
No, I think like, you know,
that,
like coins just listed on coin
in
market
your
cap.
case,
The problem is you only have like a day worth of data.
Yeah,
Like, you know, you, that's
So
useless.
Thompson does like regularly.
task that means you have an existing algorithm, like you have these SVM.
That's what happens to
So-
Coinbase. As soon as it was listed on the stock exchange, it should
Yeah, yeah.
like 50%. I think you've done
No, I-
and apparently all the employees are sold.
Hey, I just have like a couple ideas. So one, like
Yeah.
doing like a sentiment analysis on like Amazon products and stuff.
Yeah.
Or another one is like prediction or something. Another like would be like main project out there already. So how
Yeah, that's right. So
yeah.
sentiment analysis and especially about the Amazon product review. It's kind of project that has been done many times
Yeah.
in Kaggle challenges or in many research papers. So this has kind of actually solved the problem. So my suggestion is to think of, well, you can still do this one, but think about what kind of novel factors you can add into the data set or into the application side, right? So for example, you can definitely combine the sentiment analysis and the recommendation. And maybe you can Yes, yeah, I don't know. So it's your project. You need to think about what kind of novelty you can add into it. Right? So for example, if I finally you say, okay, I only do after review analysis like a positive or negative, I don't think that's